What is up, species? Welcome back to finally a brand new Flash video. Now this is my review and breakdown for episode 16 titled So Long and Good Night. And what are my first thoughts on this episode just right off the bat? It was decent. It had some good moments. It had some okay moments. It wasn't out of this world, so to speak. I did have a couple of issues with it, and I'll get to those. It might not have irked some of you, but it certainly irks me when things like this happen. But at the end of the day, it's not the biggest deal. But overall, we're slowly but surely treading forward into the artificial speed force, even though that was barely mentioned this episode, but understandably so, because I actually went over new details like that in yesterday's video, which I definitely recommend some of you check out, because Grant Gustin revealed some new information on the original season 6 cliffhanger, as if you aren't aware already, unfortunately we're only getting 19 episodes of The Flash this season, so obviously episode 19 is the finale, but episode 22 would have actually ended with a cliffhanger of Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, but also he goes on to talk about other details of the artificial speed force, so a little bit of a plug there, but go check out that video because I go over all of the new details and offer my opinions and kind of speculation on what goes on there, so feel free to offer your own there, and of course feel free to offer your own thoughts in the comment section down below about this episode, and as always make sure you leave a like on the video if you feel like it, just to show support for the channel, as it really does help these videos out. But let's get into this episode. So obviously from the trailers, for the longest time now, because we've been waiting many weeks for this episode, we knew that Ragdoll was coming back, and we also knew that Joe's life was in danger, and that is how the episode started off, because Joseph Carver sends Ragdoll after Joe. This happens through Joe's car somewhat getting hacked, because Ragdoll is in the engine, only he would be able to do that. He jumps out just in time, and you know, that's because he cut the brakes whilst also like accelerating to max speed, and this just basically highlighted the danger that Joe was in, because there was a few attempts on his life in this episode, and as even Captain Singh basically foreshadowed at the beginning of the episode, if anything happens, I'll never forgive myself, and as I kind of just teased, like as soon as he said that, I knew something was going to happen, even though it kind of didn't, and I really want to talk about that a bit later, because I feel like maybe something should have happened in that almost explosive moment. I don't know about anyone else, but due to like the drama in this episode, just because of how serious things are getting, just with Blackhole, Barry's speed going down the drain, the artificial speed force being put on the back burner, and you know, the stress that kind of creates, especially when Barry is trying to save Joe's life this episode, it was really good. You know, Grant Gustin's great at acting. Like, I feel like he's in his element when he has to portray like stressful situations like this. I always echo those sentiments whenever there's you know, like Enter Flashpoint kind of episodes and just stuff like this when he's losing his speed. But on the other side of things, guys, we did have Iris thinking that she found a way out of the Mirrorverse. I mean, somehow she's adapting to the Mirrorverse and she's able to read the screens, and I'm sure this will come to something, as of, you know, the promo for next episode definitely teases, you know, Barry trying to get her out of there, and I'm sure she's actually gonna, as she said herself, possibly find a way to contact her husband, so I'm sure maybe that will come to fruition. Iris even told Ava that Barry is the Flash and should be able to help him get out of there, but this is when Mirror Iris alerted Ava about Joe looking into the whole black hole situation more, and she wants the Flash to be drained from the rest of his speed, and that definitely set up for some interesting scenes from Mirror Iris in this episode, which we'll tackle just a little bit later. But with reference to drainage of speed, so to speak, that is when, as I thought from the trailer when we broke it down all of those weeks ago, that bullet that was, you know, traveling towards Joe wasn't going to be fatal or anything like that. It just went into his arm as Barry wasn't fast enough. As I said kind of earlier, dramatic moments like this in the episode are always exciting to watch. The effects were really cool. Love it when, you know, we get into like real-time Flash stuff like that, especially towards the end of the episode. And actually, speaking of Iris a couple of seconds ago, this was the beginning of her kind of trying to guilt trip Barry through finding Ragdoll to keep her father safe, and thus that would, you know, kind of assist in helping lose his speed. But there was this scene with Joe when he went to go visit Joseph Carver, which, you know, I wasn't really totally on board with. Yet again, I just do want to say this. Some of you may think I'm being too negative, but I can't ignore it. It's just, you know, when there's consistent oversights like this in TV shows, it does get irritating. And that's when Joe drops himself in it because he displayed his phone saying, oh, I'm recording our conversation and you're going to spend 70 years in Ironhide. Except that's when Joseph Carver uses this little EMP watch of his to disable Joe's app. So first of all, I'm just going to start off with the minor thing. Why did it just an EMP pulse disabled the app, surely it disabled the phone, and then you could argue with the little lights around them, but either way, it just disabled the app, fair enough. You could just argue it's some immaculate, detailed technology that just disables apps through an EMP pulse. But either way, Joe, my man, why did you even display the phone? Was that just a weird flex? I mean, how convenient, because it led to Joseph Carver getting rid of that, confession. I mean, well, that he recorded. It's just moments like this, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't really make sense. Joe was really silly to, flex that he was recording their phone call. Either way, I'm not really on board. I know Joseph Carver isn't the main villain anyway. It's obviously Ava. But yeah, I'm not really a big fan of this whole Joseph Carver, any scenes that he's in too much. I'm not really sold. I know he's probably a means to the end, and when Ava gets out, depending on if this is going to be before the finale, the early finale now, I'm sure he's going to bite the dust because once Ava gets out, she's probably going to be like, screw you, especially considering the end of this episode when the mirror broke and they were kind of like at ends with each other. But yeah, just thought I'd mention this. Don't know if anyone feels the same. To be honest, I don't know how you can just look past that. I think that was a very silly scene. But as a result of this led to a Joe and Barry scene, but not the kind of ones that we're used to with, all the feels and like the pep talks. This led to a bit of a argumentative situation between Barry and Joe. And yet again, just want to highlight, acting strong here. Really enjoy situations like this. And, it's just a whole thing of Joe putting his life in danger, kept reiterating itself and surfacing throughout the episode, showing that if he carries along this path, he's going to be screwed and he should maybe even consider witness protection. Especially with Barry not even being able to utilize his speed. So, I'm on board with all of this story. Like, all of this stuff was interesting. And I know the whole artificial Speed Force stuff has been put on the back burner, as I said earlier. So it just adds for this dilemma that is in an intriguing storyline. It definitely is. But on the other side of things as well, we had some Allegra and Nash stuff. Ragdoll messes up Nash and goes for Allegra, but she uses her powers to kind of just temporarily run away. That's when Cecile could hear what's going on. And I have to admit, like, personally, this is just personally, the whole brings so much suffering and then the screaming moment from Cecile was just a bit cheesy for me. But this leads me to talk about Ragdoll in general. I definitely feel like this was his best episode. I'm not mega on board with Ragdoll anyway. This isn't any hate or anything like that. It's just generally, maybe it's just because of the first two appearances of him, I haven't been mega on board. But I will give credit where credit's due. This was most certainly his most interesting episode. The way they conducted the character in this episode definitely suited him a lot more. It was quite creepy. It was a lot more interesting, and it definitely did make me like him a bit more. But overall, it's just, in terms of him being a villain for an episode, it's not like the villain of all villains for me. But, other than that, I enjoyed seeing him. And then in other things, we had Ralph tracking down Sue since she disappeared, apparently hacking the server rooms of, all of those museum and banks that she was infiltrating. And in this episode, Ralph and Cisco decided to get to Sue's next target before her, and there was a little mention, I think I said this earlier, of the artificial Speed Force because Cisco was running simulations. But yeah, we all know, especially if you watch my video from last night, about how that is on the back burner, and it probably won't be coming for a couple of episodes, probably 18. I can't confirm that or anything, but I think it will be probably near the now finale, which is 6/19. But Cisco was funny in this episode. We didn't really see much of him, but it was quite funny when he met January Galore when he was tampering, but that ended up being Sue Dearborn, which then leads me to believe, was that Sue Dearborn all the way back when January Galore first appeared, since, Sue was wearing a disguise in this episode. But eventually Ralph caught up with Sue and he wants to help her with her issues with Joseph Carver and, her parents, which is the whole motivation for Sue Dearborn doing what she's doing. And eventually it ended up with Ralph getting the diamond from Sue, which will lead to more of an in-depth clue, I'm sure, about the Blackhole investigations that maybe Star Labs can handle over her. But overall, Ralph and Sue, really enjoying it, to be honest with you. To put it very plainly, I think this is quite an interesting storyline. I'm not completely disinterested in it. I'm really enjoying Hartley Sawyer this season, as I said, every season since, which is, well, season 5 and 6 now. Season 4, he just is continuously improved, and I'm just happy for this arc with him. It's definitely probably one of the, if not the best thing he's had in quite a while. And Sue, luckily for me, it isn't really irritating me. I thought at first maybe I'm not mega on board, but you know, we'll see how it goes. But now she's opening up a little bit more to Ralph. I can definitely see, you know, a future for these two characters, and they're definitely sprinkling those clues on it anyway. But right at the end of the episode, guys, Barry suited up once again to obviously help out with the whole situation with Cecile. But while he's temporarily distracted by Ragdoll playing whack-a-mole, but essentially kind of with those pipes trying to get him out, we had Joe assisting Cecile with that pressure bomb on the chair, and that is when he swaps seats with Cecile. And this is where the kind of somewhat dramatic part of the episode really happened. So while Barry decided to save Cecile and Joe's time was running out, you know, the music was going, everything was getting dramatic, and I was thinking, just for a split second, I don't think I fully believed it, but I was like, wait, what if they're really gonna pull an unexpected thing here? Not necessarily even Joe dying, but like some kind of serious consequence. You know, at this point, there was still some room for that to happen, and it's just, you know, all of those wires were green, and I don't want to be a party pooper, but he happened to pull the right one. I mean, I understand that this was obviously a springboard for Joe to finally go to witness protection, like the straw that broke the camel's back, in terms of him finally admitting that he's got away with one too many very dangerous situations, possibly fatal. I get that, but like, and I'm not saying I wanted Joe to die, but like that, you know, I feel like we need another Henry Allen moment. That would be like, you know the impact of that. I know people are going to go mad at me in the comments. And seriously, I don't even know right now if I'm seriously suggesting if Joe should have died there or someone, whether that's Cecile or what. But like, I feel like we need a big impact like that. And I felt like I was getting a taste of that, and then it was just taken away for a very convenient correct wire plucking. I don't know. This is when we actually got a spin that I didn't see coming, and that is when Captain Singh is revealed to be in the Mirrorverse, essentially, because he said Joe West is out of the way, success is assured, because he was a bit of a thorn in Ava's side. I'm assuming Captain Singh got pulled in the Mirrorverse some time ago and isn't with you know, the actual real Iris and Camilla, because he must be tied up somewhere in the Mirrorverse, because otherwise he would be with them. I'm not sure. And other than that, we had Joseph Carver now in contact with Ava, and she wanted that apology because, you know, while she rots in the Mirrorverse, he took everything that she created, that vision for humankind, and he's kind of destroying it, or at least going about it in such a way that she didn't want to. And, you know, it definitely ended in the situation of that they're not happy with each other, or certainly Ava, when she gets out of there, probably isn't going to be too kind to him and possibly maybe even end him. I was thinking, why don't you just pull him in and make a copy of him? I mean, surely that makes more sense. I think they made it incredibly clear that she's not happy with her her husband, I guess. And I feel like if she pulled him in, she could have sent a duplicate of him out and controlled the whole situation that she wants him to do correctly, but he's not doing correctly or whatever with her whole plan for humankind. And then finally we got that kind of end flash card credit scene where Iris was making Barry feel very guilty with his speed even more, even pulled out the parent card, which was definitely a burn. And does anyone else actually find this Iris really annoying? I know that's very deliberate, but yeah, she's really going ham. And that is when our Barry leaves, and I think this will be what springboards him most certainly into figuring out that something is wrong with Iris. Kind of spoiler alert, if you've watched the promo for the next episode, it definitely highlights that Barry is already cottoned onto her, and this will be the moment where it's just like, hey, wait, I can understand the story that she made up being worried about her father, but she definitely wouldn't go to these lengths. So it's fairly a bit transparent now. But yeah, overall episode, it was good. It wasn't bad. It was above okay. I wouldn't give it an amazing or anything like that. It was a half decent episode to come back to. But yeah, I'm just more kind of salty at the minute over the fact that we're not going to get that Eobard Thawne cliffhanger because of the Flash ending quite a bit earlier this season. Understandably so, because of the illness. But go ahead and check out that video from yesterday, guys. I really do think you should, because there's a lot you can learn from it. But also, let me know your thoughts on this episode. Did you think it was amazing? Did you think it was just, you know, decent? Or did you find that there was some of those silly moments, like with Joe and Joseph Carver, like me? I don't know, maybe that didn't bother you. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Also, check out my Stargirl review. I've watched the first 3 episodes, and you guys can get my full insight on if I think you will enjoy it or not. But that's everything, so thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you speedsters in the next video. Goodbye.